I was thinking the other day about a conversation I had with my boss way back in the early 1990s. And we were sitting in the break room, and he was talking about Ross Perot's candidacy for the presidency at the time. And he said, well, look, I'm not necessarily endorsing Perot per se, but he said, I think it's about time we started having businessmen run government. And because they know bottom line and they know cost benefit. And he went through the whole, reason why business people would make good administrators when it came to government. Now, some people might disagree with that. We call them liberal newspaper columnists. But overall, I think most people understand that thinking process. It's 9:34, and we're at 70. Bill Cowley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And the last time that I happened to see developer and Dr. Tommy Ahlquist was at a picnic a few weeks ago at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds, and he had literally he was in the middle of having a marriage in the family and a big wedding coming up, but he took time out to come and meet and greet people here in Twin Falls County as part of his candidacy for governor of Idaho. First of all, we'd like to welcome you back to the show.
Hi, Bill. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be on with you again, and certainly appreciated seeing you again. And love. We spent a lot of time down in the Magic Valley lately, and great people and really amazing things going on. So I'm starting to have so many friends and folks we meet when we come into town, and it's a pleasure to be on with you again.
This time of year, and we think, a lot of people say, well, okay, campaign season, really doesn't heat up until probably January with the May primary. However, we're in the midst of fair season, maybe coming to the end of it, but for a candidate, this is one of the busiest times that you'll experience.
Yeah, as the outsider here, we started this whole effort last January, and then declared my intentions to run on March 1st. So it's kind of interesting. People say, when's you coming out of the slow time or going into the busy time? We have limited numbers of days and only 8.5 months on the primary, and so it's never slowed down. We're going hard. We can't take one thing for granted. We're working as hard as we can, but I got to tell you, I'm to the point now where I'm so excited it's hard to sleep at night. The momentum's building. We're starting to get a lot of great friends, relationships around the state. The possibilities of what we can do when we win and we get in and can actually bring some fresh ideas, a new approach to government. It keeps you up at night. It's getting very exciting, Bill. And I don't know if you're feeling that momentum in your sphere of influence, but we certainly are, and it keeps the tank full so that we can keep hitting it at the pace we are.
Well, you bring that up because I talked to somebody just last week, and obviously one of your first efforts was to increase your name recognition because you're not a politician, and so people didn't necessarily know the name from politics. But somebody told me last week, somebody in the political know, that they can measure this around the state, that you've done a remarkable job of raising that name profile. And obviously that I guess was job one, wasn't it, when you first got started?
Job one, we started at zero. And, in the Treasure Valley, I've done some things, and I've got a lot of medical experience, business experience, but the statewide campaign is a different thing. And so you've got to get that name ID out there. And I always tell people there's two sides of that. One side is, we've spent some money, and I'm sure people out there have maybe received a mail or two, or maybe 3 or 4 or 9 in the Magic Valley, because that's what I've heard a lot of people say, okay, stop already, stop. We know who you are. And we're doing some radio, and we're doing a lot of TV. But, Bill, what's been amazing to me, and this is, I think, really unpredictable for me, is how enjoyable and how committed people are to meeting you. This is a big ask, to come in from the outside and to not be a politician and have people support you and have faith that you can lead their state. It's a big ask, and they want to shake your hand. They want to look you in the eye. They want a chance to meet you. And that has been so enjoyable, and so much energy comes from that, just going around the state and meeting people. We've never stopped, and we won't stop. There's a lot of things that weaknesses I have probably, and we all have them. But one of my strengths is that I've got a motor that won't stop, and we will not take any day for granted. We're going to work hard and give everyone as many opportunities as they can to meet us around the state. It's a big state. What I've loved about meeting people is geographically we're very separate. I mean, we are. In fact, I'm driving right now. I'm in North Idaho that I just got up here. we're geographically separate, but the problems are the same. It's healthcare, it's education, it's jobs, it's keeping our kids in this state, it's infrastructure, it's higher education, and how we get our kids ready for the workforce that's out there. How do we take all of these ideas that have been talked about in our state and really have a statewide vision and plan with absolute crystal clarity? Here's where we're going to go as a state, bring people together, and then do great things. And when you start talking about those things around the state with people in different venues, it's amazing. I've loved it. Just 2 nights ago, I was in Bruno with about 30 people in a school till almost 10 o'clock at night, talking about water and land and education, things that are important to them. And then, the day later, you're up in North Idaho.
Well,
we have wonderful, amazing people in the state.
Doctor, can you hold on for a couple of minutes? We've got a short break, but we've got a lot more time coming up with you. And Dr. Tommy Ahlquist joining us this morning. He is one of, the 3 big players in the Republican Party. Again, there are a couple of other fellows out there who, I don't know why they're in the race, but the doctor, of course, will be with us until 10 o'clock this morning. We've got a short break, though, first. Bill Cawley with you, too, as well, on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're at 70, 20 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Our guest for the remainder of the show is Dr. Tommy Ahlquist, who is one of the Republicans looking for the party nomination for governor in 2018. Primary day is still quite a ways off, next May, but as we pointed out earlier, it is fair season, and that means a lot of people have been out meeting folks and getting responses from them. Bill Cawley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We're coming up on 944. We're at 69. And Doctor, I got to share a quick story with you. I was at a reception a few weeks ago, and I was talking with a fellow from a newspaper and a couple of other people who are on the periphery of politics. And the subject actually was a proposal you had made some time ago, earlier this summer, about on getting into office and actually looking to cut $100 million from the state budget. And maybe it's a lack of imagination among the political class. They were telling me they didn't see how it could be done. Are you getting any response to that? And I guess the question a lot of people have is, how do you start doing that?
Oh, thanks for the question. I love getting this question because the idea came from meeting with so many people. And if you're part of the political class, if you're a politician, if you're part of the same old, the way we spend our money is important. And you say, well, there's no way you can do it. If you're everyone else in the state, you see inefficiencies. We had a $3.5 billion budget. And I've had so many people come out of the woodwork and say, do you want to save $1 million or 2 or 10 or 15 here? Do this. If you want to do it here, do that. One of the ones I talk about all the time is any company that's got 100 or a couple hundred employees self-insures. We're not self-insured as a state with our state employees. And that doesn't mean that they still have an administrative insurance company to administer their claims, but they're self-insured. Their own internal study done just last year, Bill, shows that we would save $60.6 million in the first 3 years, and the benefits stay the same, and more money stays in the employee's pocket. So benefits the same, more money in the employee's pocket, $60.6 million right there. The other examples I bring up all the time is, I'm a developer. We're looking at putting in an overpass right now. That's $8.4 million if I pay for it. If ITD does it, it's 24. I don't know why there's a difference. I don't know why overhead is 18 to 40% on projects when in the real world it's 5. I don't know why we borrow $500 million a year as a state to reinvest it, and it costs us $5 million in fees. We've done it for years. I don't know why when we procure things in the state, we don't do it with the ability to say, hey, we want the very best price in this region, and we want the very best quality, and we want the best service. We don't do that. There's common business practices we don't do. So what I always say to people that push back, they're part of the political class, the people that say you can't do this, I say, do you really think that our state government's 100% efficient? Because all I'm talking about is a 3% savings in the way we spend our money. And I'm not talking about cutting education. They've spun this as somehow we're going to cut education. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We're $3.6 billion behind in infrastructure, maintenance of roads and bridges. Of course, we've got other things we need to fund. but it's a general principle, probably in your own home, Bill, and it certainly is in mine, that you have sources of money, you have uses of that money, and you spend it the best way you can, and we can do better. So I'll take on anyone in the political class that wants to talk about this any day.
I've got to ask you before I forget, for people who are tuning in, obviously you have a website and there's a lot of depth there as far as learning more about the campaign and possibly if someone wanted to get involved, where would you send them as far as the web address?
So one of the so TommyForIdaho.com, and one of the things we've really prided ourselves on so far is any email, any comment on social media, we get back to those folks within 24 hours. So we are building a network, a deep network across the state of volunteers and people that are passionate about what we're trying to do. And absolutely, thanks for the opportunity. Anybody out there that wants to be part of this or learn more or meet me, reach out to us. We'll make it happen. Because ultimately, one of the things I've been asked recently that I love talking about is people say, well, what makes you think you could come in as an outsider and make a difference in the state? And I said, well, that's what you do in leadership your whole life. Bill, for 18 years I was an ER doc, and I like using the analogy of a trauma team, right? The doctor leads that team, but there are 15 individuals standing in that room waiting to take care of you when you come in as a trauma patient. And you lead, everyone has their role, you listen, and together you create a team that saves somebody. You take that same mentality into business. You look at development. You have engineers, civil engineers, structural engineers, an entire team of finance guys, and you go do a project and everyone comes together. But what you have is you have clear vision, you have a shared vision with clarity, you have a plan of where you're going, and then you have action, and then nothing substitutes for the relentless work it takes to get something done. I do not know why, in every aspect of my life when I've led, with that approach of a team-driven approach with a shared vision, it always works. It will work in government. And I think people who understand leadership and understand what that looks like, they get that. And I think that there's another class of people who are status quoers that are saying, that's not the way it works. It works that way in the world. It will work that way in state government. It's worked in other states, and it'll work right here in Idaho.
Can you take a telephone call or two?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see who we've got here. We've got a caller on the line with us. Caller, you're on the air with Dr. Tommy Ahlquist on KLIX. Go ahead.
Good morning. As a governor, would you reduce your salary? Trump has only taken $1. You've got other business interests in drawing money. So would you not take the governor's salary? And at the same time, since we have the governor's mansion and it's updated and taken care of all the time, would you move in there so that nobody has to pay your rent at your private house?
Yeah, great question. Actually, I've never been asked that question. So on the first, I'll take them in reverse order. First, there is not a governor mansion. The Simplots donated the Simplot home.
Yeah, that had been sold or something, right?
That's been given back to the Simplot family. So there's not a governor's mansion in the state of Idaho. And right now, you're right. The current governor has taken a housing stipend. I would not take a housing stipend. I live in Ada County. I live in Eagle. I have lived in the same house for 18 years. I'm going to stay in that same house forever. And so, no, I don't need a housing stipend because I live there. And so that's an easy answer. On my salary, I've never been asked that. To be honest with you, I don't even really know what the governor's salary is in the state. I've never been asked that question, but I probably should look that up and know what that is. But we can evaluate that going forward. I've been very blessed in my life. Most people don't know this about me, but no one from either side of my family ever graduated from college. I grew up in a very hard-working blue-collar setting where everyone was either worked in farming or worked in mining. And so I went to college. I'm a self-made guy. It's been harder in dollars. I love people that challenge me on that, and I've got a lot of successful businesses, and those will continue to operate and provide me income. But it's a great question, and I appreciate getting it.
And we're an unusual state in that we don't have a governor's mansion, obviously. And in some places, if I recall, there were folks in California who didn't want to live in the mansion because they didn't like the neighborhood. But I don't know that we've ever had those types of objections here. And certainly without the mansion, there can't be any objection.
Yeah, where I live will be pretty straightforward. It'll be in the same home I've always lived in.
And it's not really a long drive for you to the office as well.
No, I drive downtown to my other buildings right now, and so we'll live at home, and that's what makes this transition kind of nice, actually. I still have, Shannon and I have a great family. We have two older kids that are married now, and you just mentioned we just married off my daughter, and thank heavens that I like that young man that married her, because that was a hard thing for a dad to marry off a daughter. But he's wonderful. But then we have two young kids at home. They're still very, very busy. They're 12 and 14, and so we're very glad and that they can continue to live their life and stay in their schools and hopefully keep that as normal as we can.
Our guest is Dr. Tommy Ahlquist, and he is a candidate Republican running for governor in Idaho. And we're at 9:52 on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Bill Colley with you as well this morning, and we're at 69. Referencing the fact that you've been quite a successful businessman, especially when it comes to developing, would you as governor, and I don't know how this works in Idaho myself, but would you as governor have to put those interests in a trust while you were serving?
Yes. So definitely a couple things. We're going to need to look at the business, and once we get through this primary and it becomes serious here, we're going to have to decide anything that's got a conflict of interest and how I pull myself away from that, make that work. And I think that I've had some consultants that have looked at that, and we're going to have to blind myself to a lot of what goes on. There's a lot of other things that I do that just won't have any conflict of interest. I still own a med tech company. We're the largest provider of service for automated external defibrillators in the country, with over 65,000. But almost all of that business is out of the state of Idaho, and so there's some things that will have some conflict that we'll need to blind ourselves from, and other things that we probably won't. But I hope to have that problem very soon, Bill. I hope May 16th we're talking about that when we get through this primary.
I don't, Governor, or rather Congressman Andy Harris, who's a doctor as well. I was shocked to hear this, still practices medicine, oftentimes a couple of days a week when he's not in session. So, but again, if that's not something you'd have to give up, right? I mean, those are certain areas of your life. Business may be one thing, but in other areas you can still hold on to that.
Yeah, you can still hold on, and I think look at the way government was intended to be run. It was to have real people from the real world reach a point in their life where they could go in and serve and become a servant and then come back out. I think this idea of career politicians has evolved, but this is where our forefathers intended things to go, and I think we can do that and come in and do a good job for the state, and then plan on getting back out.
We got about 3 minutes. Can we squeeze in one last call, or would you have time?
Absolutely.
Caller, you're up next. You're on the air with Dr. Tommy Ahlquist. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Hey, I have a question for you. On your spot, you say you're gonna cut the budget for $100 million in 100 days. The only thing is that education is number 47th in the country, and it's like right now it seems that it's getting harder and harder. I mean, explain to me how you're gonna do that without hurting people in the process. Could you explain that a little better? Because, I mean, anybody can say, I'll do this and I'll do that. But the bottom line is, how many people are you going to be hurting with that?
We got about 2.5 minutes.
Okay, I'll be very, very clear. I will not cut $1 from education. You're right. We're 63% of every dollar goes towards education, but we are still behind other states on per pupil funding. That is not what this is about. It's being spun that way, but it is not that way at all. What this is we have wasteful government spending in every department, and I will look through every single line item and find ways to spend that money better. If people are offended by me trying to spend your tax dollars better because I'm a taxpayer, then I don't know what to say to that. But we are going to take those dollars because we desperately need them in education, in infrastructure, and other places. There is nothing wrong. It's not cutting the budget. It is cutting $100 million in wasteful government spending. It's there, and I promise you I'll do it.
We've got about a minute and a half or so to go. Do you have an elevator speech to wrap up with today? Anything that we left out?
The only thing I'd say is thank you. This has been an incredible experience. It starts off a little odd when you're not used to this and you come into politics, but I'll tell you what, I am so excited and appreciative of the effort, the intensity, the enthusiasm around the state right now in every part of the state for our campaign. This is a team effort. I need everyone who wants to be part of what we're doing. to let us come in and to make a difference in healthcare and education and jobs, to do what we say we're going to do. I mean, one of the things that people that know me well is I am not a talker. When I say we're going to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to change the direction of this state and make a difference. We have a great state with great heritage and values. We are built we are built for success with the people that we have. We need policies that match our people and help the families of Idaho, and that's what I'm going to do.
By the way, the next time you're back, because we didn't get a chance to delve into it, you have the advantage being a medical professional with the implosion of Obamacare. We've got to talk about how the state's going to deal with coming up maybe with a solution on its own. So maybe we've got to schedule something in the near-term future, and we can take some time on that as well.
That would be fantastic. In fact, I'll take you up on that as soon as you can. That's an entire probably half-hour segment or a couple of them. Yeah. I'd love to do that with you, Bill.
All right. Hey, good luck out there, and enjoy the view up there in the northern panhandle today.
Thank you so much, Bill. Have a great day.
You too. Dr. Tommy Ahlquist spending some time with us this morning, one of our Republicans campaigning for governor in the state of Idaho. And we've got to wrap it up for the day. I do want to point out tomorrow morning we're talking firearms during the course of the program. Got a lot to talk about when it comes to that tomorrow. I've been seeing some things this week. I've been collecting things all week long for subject material, and we could have talked about them already, but I want the experts in studio when I do that. God willing, the creeks don't rise. I'm back here between 8 and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Rush Limbaugh's program is coming up next following the news at 10 o'clock. Also, we've got Sean Hannity this afternoon between 1 and 4, Glenn Beck after 4 o'clock news, and Dave Ramsey from 7 until 10 o'clock tonight. Have a great day.